Hey friends, how you guys doing? I hope you guys had a beautiful Mother's Day weekend. Happy belated Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. My Mother's Day weekend was very busy. My daughter runs track, so track meets. I was at the track all day on Saturday, and then I had to do a lot of running around on Sunday. But nonetheless, we're here, we're blessed, and it is a new week, a beautiful week. So let's get into this, you guys. Real Housewives of Atlanta, season 15, episode 2. Did y'all see it? We're just gonna jump right into it. Y'all always know I got my notes, so let's talk about it. The episode picks up back at the party, the birthday party, the 40th birthday party for Ross. And where we ended the last episode, was real juicy. We had the situation with Kandi that was kind of going on with the new girl, Courtney. And then we had Monyetta and Kenya that kind of let Sheree know what was going on with Martell, So we picked right back up with that, okay? So, Sheree speaking to Kenya about not only the situation with the DMs, but she's also talking about this alleged woman that's in Atlanta that Martell been messing around with, that I'm sure is probably true. So she kind of calls Martell over, come here Martell, and I'm sure it's funny because I was just like, Kenya was probably like, damn girl, I don't want to get him involved, like I just wanted to give you the tea, you could stew on that and then whatever. But Sheree, she likes to be she's the bone collector, so she was gonna carry that bone over to Martell. So she called Martell over. And so, excuse me, I'm sorry, y'all, my nose is itching, child. Anyway, oh, my allergies. Whew, excuse me. Anyway, so she tells Martell about the woman, and Martell's like, well, yeah, he didn't deny it. He was like, yeah, I was messing with old girl, but like, she ain't nothing. So I was like, okay, Martell, he said like, yeah, I mean, and I'm messing with her, but this is not my girl. Like, I'm not checking for her like that. So he actually admitted that part. So I'm going to be kind of going back and forth between this situation, and because that's how the last episode and this episode, they're going back and forth between the confrontation of Sheree and Martell, and then Kandi and Courtney, and that unnecessary situation that happened with them, right? So, the thing happens with Courtney. We see how that ended the last episode, where Kandi was about to get in that ass and she told Courtney that she was go headbutt her to back Courtney up off of her, because Courtney was doing all of this head bobbing and weaving, whatever. And so that kind of just stops, and then everybody's kind of checking on Kandi, because remember, half of the group was over there with being nosy with Martell and Sheree, and then you had Marlo and Sonia that were over there with Kandi. So the rest of the group kind of trickles in, and Kenya's like, what's going on? Todd goes over there to kind of comfort Kandi and calm her down, Don Juan, and they're just like, well, what happened? Like, how did you guys get here? And so Kandi's telling them about that. And so Kandi's annoyed with Sonia, rightfully so. I would have been annoyed with Sonia, because it's like, girl, why didn't you give me a heads up that this heifer was going to come up and confront me? Like, you knew she was going to say something to me. And we'll get to that a little bit later when Kandi and Sonia are, speaking about this a little more in depth. But I would have been probably more annoyed with Sonia than anything, because it's like, you know me, you don't have any loyalty to her. Why didn't you give me the heads up prior to this party that this woman had an issue with me? So Kandi's kind of talking about that. So everybody sits down, like at Kandi, Monyetta, Kenya, Sheree, whatever, and they're talking about, kind of start talking about the DM situation with Martell or whatever. And so initially, Martell comes back over to them. They're all sitting down. And he initially denied that he even sent the DM. He's like, well, I ain't sent no DM, da-da-da-da-da. And so then, Kandi and them, they're like, well, I saw it with Kenya. You need to show the DM. And so then he's like, oh, okay. Well, then I did send a DM, but that was longer than 6 months ago, because Kenya was saying that it was like 6 months ago. So she shows it and he admits it or whatever, and you can kind of tell that he like deleted the message, right? So Kenya and Martell are kind of fussing back and forth or whatever, and like Martell shows Kandi in the group, like, look, this is the message that I sent. This was 2 years ago or whatever. It was like 2020. And so I don't really know why the next thing I'm about to say set Kenya off so bad, but Martell made a comment to her, which, okay, for everybody who doesn't have the background on Martell, I feel like I know Martell very well because I watch Love and Marriage Huntsville. That's another one of my favorite shows. Martell is very sensitive. He's very sensitive, right? And I feel like he doesn't argue very well. Like he gets riled up real, he gets very, very animated and riled up really quickly. And again, it doesn't matter. He does it with women, mamas, daddies, brothers. Like, it's no discrimination on. Martell will get in your face and check you regardless of your gender, your whatever, right? And so it's funny because when I was watching this, I knew it, you guys, that Martell was about to like not take this confrontation well, because again, we've seen it time and time again with every single person on Love and Marriage Huntsville. He has literally got into it with everybody, and we see how that happens. So I knew this would be no different. And so when he's like leaving the table initially, he says to Kenya, well, you probably be what did he say? Dang, he said, oh, you probably accept everybody's message. I wouldn't be surprised if you accept everybody's message. So that comment to me, I would have kind of like let that roll off my shoulders, but that really got Kenya upset. I don't really know why. She explains a little bit later, and we can get into that when she's talking to Sheree towards the end of the episode. But like that really, really made Kenya upset, because she just got up. What did you say? And child, and we know how Kenya can get too. She's not gonna back down. She's vicious with her words, and Kenya is one of the people that I would not want to have a verbal showdown with, because Kenya is vicious. Like, and her reads and her shade is unmatched. So yeah, she gave Martell some words that he probably didn't appreciate. But yeah, him saying to her that you probably respond to everybody's DMs, like, really made her upset. Whereas me, I would have been like, boy, goodbye. Like, because I'm like, I didn't even respond to yours. So how I'm responding to everybody else's DMs? But that like really made her upset. And again, I guess we'll talk about why. But yeah, I would have laughed that off. And so, again, like we said, Martell does what he always does. He got riled up. And so Kenya, like, screaming, once a cheater, always a cheater, you ain't ish, and da-da-da-da. And she calls Martell, you're being aggressive. And I'm torn with how I feel about this, because on one hand, we have seen Martell be aggressive. With men, Martell has been aggressive. Like, that is, I think he has a naturally, like, he's very manly, very rough, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's just real tough and rough, and that's kind of his persona. But he's and on the other hand, he's sensitive too. So we have seen Martell be aggressive. Whereas I feel like his reaction was a little, but again, that is him. Like, I feel like he gets really hyped up in every situation. I think that Kenya should be very careful with calling people aggressive, because what I will say is, and black men specifically, black women too, I don't recall her calling a black woman aggressive, but I think she should be careful with labeling black men as aggressive. Whereas in this situation, it may have been more warranted. When she called Ross aggressive, he was not being aggressive with her at all. So I don't want her to kind of pigeonhole every black man. Anytime there's a black man who's not happy or he's upset, I don't want her to call every, put every black man in that same basket and call them aggressive. So can you just be careful with that? Like I said, do we know Martell to be aggressive? Yeah. Do we know Ross to be aggressive? No. Was Ross aggressive last season when you called him that? Absolutely not. He was not aggressive with you at all. He wasn't threatening or anything. He just checked y'all and said, leave my wife alone. That's all he said. That is not aggressive, okay? Because if somebody, for instance, was picking on Brooklyn, or you felt like Brooklyn was being mistreated, you would tell them, y'all better leave Brooklyn alone. But that doesn't make you aggressive. And that is what Ross did. So I just want her to be careful. I love you, Kenya. I really do. You're one of my faves, but I just wanted you to be careful with your wording of black men as aggressive in every situation, because it's not always applicable. So that's all I'm going to say about that. I'm not going to beat a dead horse with that one. So, Sheree, she's taking up for Martell. I probably wouldn't have handled it like that. I probably would have just separated Martell, and I know you're filming a show, but I probably would have left, because you seems like you've developed a relationship with Kenya, right? And whereas I don't necessarily agree with how Kenya brought the information to you, because I feel like if y'all are friends for real, she should have let you, because there's nothing wrong with her letting you know that he DM'd her. But I feel like when you have a real friendship, that should override the show. So I wish that Kenya would have brought that to you, not on camera. We wouldn't have got the juiciness of this, but I'm just saying, for the sake of the friendship, because she was right in telling you, because I think she might have said on Kandi Speak on it, like, I don't want it to come out later and make it look, if Martell says something to you later, because, sometimes men be gassing it and lying, and where he could have turned it around, Kenya was trying to get at me. So she wanted to just let you know, like, look, he messaged me, I don't know what it said, but I just wanted you to know that. I don't think anything's wrong with that. I just think that the way she presented it was not necessarily in the best way that she should have done, in a loving way towards her friend. But also, Martell wasn't right in the way he spoke to her. So it would have just probably been better had Sheree ushered Martell out of there, and she could have spoken to Kenya, called her or whatever at a later time when Martell wasn't there. That's probably how I would have handled it. But hindsight is 2020, right? So anyway, then we see Drew finally in the next scene. Drew is coming back from Chicago from visiting her dad, which I'm very, very sad, Drew, to hear that your dad has Alzheimer's, and he's been sick. So she's going to visit him. And I guess there was some type of emergency where she had to go see him. I'm confused because, Ralph, why you wasn't there? This is a precursor to all of their relationship issues. I hope you guys all see that. Ralph, why you didn't go with your wife? You want to be on TV too. You made sure that you was at that event. In addition to the fact that lets me know you don't really care about her the way you need to care, the way a husband should care if she's going through it and she has an issue with her dad. So that was very telling. So she comes back from Chicago and they're conversing. They're kind of, she's talking to Ralph about how her dad's doing. Side note, Drew, your daughter's so cute. She's so cute. She is super, 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 super cute. She kind of reminds me of my daughter. So she's talking about, so I didn't realize, I think maybe on the first season that Ralph was in, he plays piano. So I forgot that he was musically, inclined and had a musical background as well. We find out Drew is doing her music and that he wrote a song for her. The song actually sounds good, Drew. You can sing. So I feel like if you promote this the right way, maybe do a TikTok challenge or something, because the song, I liked it. The song, I would listen to it. It sounded nice. So we find out that she's really been nervous about like her music and everything. And so I actually think you're very talented, Drew. I think if you just work on being a little bit more likable, like we don't want you we don't want the Tasha from Escape situation, whereas Drew, we don't dislike you like that. You all right. But I do think that you, a little more congeniality and personality, Drew, and along with your talent, you actually could be successful as a singer. And then we found out that you were in a group. I didn't know that. I forget which Drew said her group name was, but she said she was the Beyonce of her group, child. So, but yeah, there was some little fun facts about Drew, and then so I definitely want to pray for your dad, Drew. I hope that he progresses. And gets better. It was sad to hear that he sometimes can't recognize you. That made me sad. So I definitely pray for you and your family with that, Drew, as well. Okay, so moving along. Kandi meets with Sonya for dinner. And we find out that Kandi has gotten closer with Sonya. They took a trip to Disney. I imagine that Ross and Todd are probably really close. Ross and Todd are like my favorite husbands. They are super cool. They seem like real cool dudes, real ones, laid back, no nonsense, but real cool at the same time. So it seems like you, Sonya, and your family and Kandi's family have gotten close. Y'all are vacationing together, all that, which is nice. Which is why I'm kind of side-eyeing you, Sonya, and Kandi side-eyeing you too, because you guys start talking about the little girl Courtney, and you tell Kandi that Courtney, I guess in that same situation when you was with Sheree and Courtney, that Courtney made a comment about how Kandi had an event and all the people that was there, like all her fans and stuff, everybody that came to the event was real ghetto. And Sonya, you was just a giggling and sniggling, and you ain't take up for Kandi. And then you lied about it, because Kandi asked you when you told the story. She's like, okay, so what was you saying when everybody was, when Courtney and Sheree was talking about me and Courtney called me ghetto? What did you say? Because Kandi's not ghetto. And then you, that's all, folks. Like, you didn't even know. You're so flustered and like, and you, Sonya, you kind of tell when you be lying. You're not a good liar, okay? Okay? Like my girl Tamar, okay? You're not a good liar. Okay, like we could tell, and Kandi knew you was lying because she said it in her confessional. She lying like shit. That girl ain't take up for me. So you lied to Kandi and was like, no, I told her, Sonya, you gotta be a better friend, Sonya. Now I know you ride with Marlo and Sheree, those your girls, but Kandi's a real one, and Kandi wouldn't do that to you. So you can't, it's giving two-faced, Sonya. And I've been thinking this about you for a while, because you let Marlo do all that BS last season. You never checked her on it, because she was on one and she was acting up, and you as a friend, you didn't say anything. But then you have something to say about Kandi all the time in Kenya. So like, I'm gonna need you to get it together. You need to be on the side of right, Sonya. So yeah, Kandi checked you about that, and you need to do better, because I didn't like that. I didn't like that whole situation. Not only were you laughing when the girl was like implying that Kandi was ghetto, but the girl told you that she had an issue with Kandi, and you didn't call Kandi, hey, I'm gonna see you in a minute, but old girl has a problem with you, so just be prepared that when you come to Ross's party, she's gonna confront you, because Kandi was confusion, okay? So that's not sisterly, that's not loving, and that's not a friend. So you need to work on being a better friend. So, okay, then we kind of go to quickly Sonya and Ross. They're in the car. They're talking about, how they both want another baby. And, Sonya is giving her reservations on having another baby because she said Ross is not there. Sonya, let me just say this. The time's never going to be perfect, okay? And I imagine, I don't know, you're probably around my age, I'm sure you're in your late 30s. I don't think you might be early 40s, whatever. You're older than 35, presumably. You don't have a lot of time. And I hate that for women, but we have biological clocks. We don't have a lot of time, okay? Once, you're considered geriatric, girl, after 35. So the timing's never going to be right. You just have to adjust your lifestyle to this new baby. So if you do want a baby with your husband, go for it. I mean, you seem busy as well. So, prayerfully, you guys can make the decision. You have a beautiful son. Your husband seems very involved. He really wants to have a baby with you. So, I just wanted to say that the time is never going to feel just perfect for you to have a baby. So if you decide to do it, things will fall into place. So don't be afraid. You have a great support system. That's amazing, because that's half the battle. So go ahead, get knocked up, girl. Let him shoot your club up. Go ahead, give him another baby. Okay, so then Kandi and Todd meet up, and I wasn't aware. So they meet up at Blaze, which is their steakhouse. They're like more, how should we classify it? It's a steakhouse, so it's just a little bit more of a, 5-star-ish, higher class restaurant versus old lady gang. And they're just talking about how Blaze is not doing as well, or is not as well received as their other restaurants, which I didn't know that was what was going on. And so they're just talking about ways to better promote the restaurant, and just strategies on making Blaze more successful like their other restaurants. And so when they're talking, Kandi's cousin or nephew, Kandi's cousin comes. And that now everybody, I'm assuming you're familiar with the situation that happened last year, where there was a shooting at Kandi's restaurant and her cousin got shot. So he comes and he sits down, and they're just asking like, how are you doing? How you feeling? And then they kind of brush past it. They don't really get into the meats and potatoes of like what happened with the shooting. And so one of the producers comes and stops them, is like, so y'all not gonna talk about the elephant in the room? The elephant being the cousin with a big sling on his arm that just got shot. And so Kandi and Todd are kind of like, well, no, because there's still legal things that are going on that we can't get into. I didn't know, is it me? I didn't realize that another employee shot the cousin. I thought it was just like a patron that was in the restaurant and they started shooting. I didn't realize that her cousin that got shot got into an altercation with another employee, and that employee shot him. Which is sad, because why you got your gun at work? Like, it's very scary. So, hopefully, it seems like Kandi always bounces back. And so hopefully her cousin, this happened months ago, so I'm assuming her cousin's doing much better. So I hope that, her and Todd are able to get their, strategy together and better promote it. The food, they had a food taste, and the food looks amazing. They had like fried lobster tails, which are always delightful. And so I pray for Kandi and her restaurant. Kandi is one of my role models. I look up to Kandi and aspire, like she inspires me. And that's why some people say I be caping for Kandi, but I really admire her. I love that she's very truthful and she's very objective, and I just admire her as a human being, and I love her work ethic and she's just so creative, and she's just amazing to me. So I wish her nothing but success with implementing better promotional strategies for Blaze, and I hope her cousin feels better as well. All right. Okay, so then we see Kenya, and we're introduced to her friend Akila, and they go and play tennis together. And I love Brooklyn. Like, Kenya, can I have her? Like, she has the sweetest little raspy voice, and she's just always so happy. And I follow Kenya, and so when I see Brooklyn, she's just like, I love her. She's so adorable. So we see Brooklyn, which is always a treat whenever we get to see her. And then we meet Kenya's friend Akila, who also has a super cute daughter. Kenya says their daughters are best friends. And, we obviously, it seems like Akila's going to be a friend of the show. And then so, Kenya's just telling her, oh, Akilah is married to an NFL player. So then we see Kenya's like telling Akilah that she's, giving her update about the divorce, which can the divorce just be over yet? I've never seen a dragged out divorce like this, Kenya. I'm assuming that he's contesting things. Has to be. I think you kind of said that on Speak On It, because like, why is it taking y'all so long to get divorced? Whew. I know I'm irritated, so I know you irritated. But so then we see Akilah's like, yes, girl. Oh, Kenya tells Akilah that she's dating. And so Akilah's like, oh, yeah, I could hook you up with, one of her husband's a football player. I could, hook you up with, they're vacuuming right outside of my buildings. I don't know if y'all can hear that. So I'll just work through that. So she's telling Kenya that she wants to hook her up with one of her husband's like NFL player friends or whatever. So it's good that Kenya has options, but it seemed like Kenya has a boo. So I guess we'll see how that plays out. So she tells her about her new boo, about her potentially being able to hook her up. So then we see, Sonya meets up with Sheree. These heifers be eating dinner like shit, y'all. All they do is eat them some damn dinner. That's why I like to see like other different things, like Kenya going to play tennis, because I'm like, all y'all do is go out to dinner and gossip. But yeah, so Sonya meets up with Sheree, and Sheree's telling Sheree's son had a child. And Sheree's telling Sonya how much she loves being a grandma. I bet Sheree's probably such a good grandma. The daughter is beautiful. Her name is Mecca. They named her Mecca, which I love. And so, yeah, Sheree's just sharing with her how special it is to be a grandma now. So that's really, really sweet. And then we already talked about this, but Kenya and Sonya are talking about Kenya's continual usage of the word aggressive. We're not going to belabor that. I told you my thoughts on that. Something is telling me this is going to be an ongoing discussion this season. So, again, we'll see how that plays out with the usage of the word aggressive. But, yeah, we talked about that. So, we don't have to go back on that. All right, so we get to see, this is the last scene of the episode. We get to see Sheree's distribution center of She by Sheree, which it looks great. Like she had product in there. So I don't know if this is just for the show or, what. But so she has some ladies working in there that are packing up stuff for her. And so Sheree's telling the ladies that I need you guys to like steam. Can you steam the stuff? Sheree, you would cheap as hell. Because the girls, she's like, well, some of the product is kind of wrinkled before being sent out. Then the lady's like, yeah, we could steam it. And then Sheree's like, is it going to cost more? Yes. You think they about to be in there steaming all that stuff for the free before they send that stuff out? Sheree, stop being cheap. You always don't want to pay somebody something. You got money. Get up off some of that money and pay these ladies. I'm not steaming nothing for you for the free. So anyway, we still love the clothes, Sheree. They real cute. So we see that, and then Kenya comes, and then, Kenya's like, oh, I really like this. They're having small talk or whatever. They kind of talking about Kenya dating, whatever, right? So then they get right to it. They talk about the elephant in the room or what happened at Ross's birthday party. And Sheree tells Kenya, like, look, Martell felt ambushed, which he was. Martell was definitely ambushed. That is true. Again, I said this before, I'll say it again. I don't like how the girls, being Monyetta and Kenya, brought the information to Sheree. Although I don't disagree with them bringing it. It's the way they brought it. But also, Sheree, ain't nobody tell you to call Martell over there. You did that. Because it could have just stayed between you and Kenya and Monyetta. You were the one that brought him into that. So you were also at fault, because you could have told him later. I would not have told him right then. And especially knowing how Martell reacts to things, I definitely would not have told him in that setting for him to just set it off like he always do. So you're a little bit to blame anyway. But so she's telling Kenya that Martell felt ambushed, and he was. But you are also a part of that ambushment. Okay. So yeah, so Kenya's like, look, I just told you about the DM. Like, I wasn't rude. I was never rude to him. He's the one that set off being rude. I just wanted to make you aware of what was going on. And so, yeah, Kenya says, like, Martell was disrespectful. And then Sheree said, well, you were disrespectful too. And so that is also true. Because she did, Kenya got the mouth in, and she was like, well, you ain't shit, and you did this, and you did this to your wife, once a cheater, ex-wife, once a cheater, always a cheater, da-da-da-da. So that's true. They both were disrespectful to each other. So I do agree with that. So this is what I was going to say. Remember earlier I was saying, like, I don't understand why Kenya got so upset with Martell making the comment of, you probably answer everybody's DMs. Kenya later said, like, on Kandi Speak On It, she said, the reason why I got so upset is because I felt like Martell was implying that I was a hoe. I mean, whatever. Like, again, if I know I'm not a hoe, and again, I clearly don't answer everybody's DMs because I didn't answer yours. I don't think I would have cared about that. Like, you can't expect him to not say anything, Kenya, when you're the one that, like, put him on blast at this party. It's like, I feel like Kenya wanted to be able to get her stuff off and say what she wanted to say. She just didn't want Martell to say anything. And that's also not realistic. It's just not. Like, now, had that maybe been Todd, just generally speaking, because Kenya has a great relationship with Todd, but if Martell had been the type of guy that Todd was, then yeah, maybe he would have just walked off. But Martell is he's about that action. He's not walking away. Like, Kenya, you said you watched the show, so you know what time it is with Martell. So I don't know why you're that surprised by his reaction, but at the same token, maybe you didn't know that Sheree was going to tell him to come over there. So but yeah, I wouldn't have been that upset about that comment. I think I just wasn't that deep to me. But people are triggered by different things. So what I might be triggered by something way more than Kenya would. So I mean, I'll give her that. And then Kenya said Martell didn't have to act abusive. I don't love Kenya's wording. I mean, I just don't love the wording. Abusive, aggressive, these A words, I'm not feeling them. I'm not feeling them. I don't think he was abusive to you. But I get what she was trying to say. I think what she was really trying to say, like, look, this is a precursor for what you might be in for, Sheree. Like, he's exhibiting these different red flags, and you need to look out for them. So I think maybe that's where she was going with it, but I don't think that he was abusive to her. Aggressive, yeah, possibly, but again, that is Martell. So if you want to avoid that type of interaction with him, you probably don't set him off, because that is how he reacts. And if you're scared of him, then just avoid him, because that is Martell, honestly. And then, Kenya's just we know that Sheree's not the best at picking men. And, Kenya was basically kind of run down. Like, look, we had the situation with Bob. We had the situation with dude that was in jail. We had now the situation with Martell. Like, you're not really good at picking men. And so she's just kind of like giving Sheree warnings. Like, we're too old to be accepting this. We need to learn from things. And, Martell is not the ideal boyfriend. He's just not. As much as I like Martell. I stand firm in that. I like him. Do I like a lot of the decisions that he's made? No. Do I think he's an amazing dad? Yes. Is he charming as hell? Yes. Is he fine? Yes. Can he be funny? And do I love to see him on his show? Yes. But would I want to date him? No. Because he's not. We've just seen too much. So I think that is what Kenya is trying to get Sheree to see. But look, Kenya, we all know women are going to do what they want to do, so you might as well just let that go. And Sheree is glutton for punishment. She is going to learn and learn her lessons as she is. There ain't even no sense in you trying to preach. Let her do her thing and love her through it. So anyway, that is episode 2 of season 15 of The Real Housewives of Atlanta. I hope you guys enjoyed my review. Sorry it's a little late. I know I'm a day late, so I do apologize about that. But please like and subscribe and continue to ride us out with me while I review the season. I hope you all have a beautiful and productive week. And I will see you guys next week when we review episode 3. All right, you guys take care. Have a great day. Bye-bye.